Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. I'm Gauri Srivani, lead for the mobile app development for the current tenure. Here at the mobile app development team, we aim to learn and grow together as peers and then help each other in order to build fascinating mobile apps and help each other and give an opportunity to achieve goals. So I'll start by introducing my team. In my team, I have Sanaullah Khan from Artificial Intelligence and Data Science Department, third year. Ayman Uzair from Computer Science Department, second year. Umar Ahmed from Computer Science Department, third year. And Syed Mustafa Ahmed from Artificial Intelligence and Data Science section, third year. So I'm very glad to have you all of you here. So in this event, we'll start to learn we'll start by learning the basics of Android, and then we'll go on in order to build an end-to-end project of a BMI calculator. So let's inform your friends also in order to join this. And over to Uzair. You can just start now.
Is my voice audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, I will be sharing my screen right now.
Sure.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
Uh, so I will be starting. Good evening, everyone. Session today marks the beginning of a thrilling journey into the fascinating realm of Android development, and I couldn't be more excited to have you all on board. So, to give you a brief introduction of what Android Study Jam is, Android Study Jams are community organized study groups for people to learn, to get hands-on learning for Android app development. Basically, it's for us students to know more about the processes and trivialities of developing and the insider info. This is a series of sessions focused on learning how to build Android apps without any prior experience in developing in any sort of programming language. For the opportunities from this sessions, you will have a basic idea or concept of building Android application using Kotlin language. You will be also learning how to deploy these apps on Google Play, and uh, also create apps while solving real world problems such as a weather app or calculator or any tracking app. And then you will be able to get and then you will be certified for your project progress and start your journey as an Android developer. So to get started, you will be you will first need a developer's profile. So we'll be opening this developer's profile. And how do I will be so you will have to sign in first for this developer's profile. I will be signing in. So your profile should look somewhat like this. You'll have your badges over here, which you will earn while you progress through the units. Uh, so now I'll be sharing. So before we delve into our study Android study jams. We'll first discuss what is Android and what applications are, and the history of Android versions. So Android is a Linux-based mobile operating system, primarily designed for touchscreen devices. It was released in late 2008, and this is owned by Google, as we all know. And uh, Android is also used for operating systems in cars and wearable devices. So these are the versions and code names for all the Android versions till now. Android 15 is still not yet released. It's still in beta. The current version is Android 14, which was released in October 4, 2023. So we'll be seeing what an Android application is. An Android application, or an application in general, is a software program designed to specifically perform specific functions or tasks for end users. These range from productivity tool, entertainment application, social media platforms, games, and much more. They are typically created to enhance the user's experience on devices, on smartphones, tablets, computers, or other electronic devices. So now to build the Android applications, we will be needing some tools. So the best tool for Android development is Android Studio. It is an IDE which helps in developing Android apps, and we'll be installing SDK, which is a software development kit, which contains all the libraries and data, such as functions, constructors, classes, and all, um, that we'll be requiring for building our project. So Kotlin is an expressive, statically typed language for Android and other web apps. Um, it was introduced in 2010 by JetBrains, and it has powerful features such as lambda expressions, extension functions, smartcast, enabling developers to write expressive and concise code. Kotlin is designed to be fully interoperable with Java, which means you can seamlessly use Kotlin and Java code within the same project. This allows the developers to leverage existing Java libraries and frameworks while gradually adopting Kotlin. The interoperability ensures a flexible and gradual migration process for developers. Many companies, including Google, Pinterest, and Netflix, have embraced Kotlin in their Android projects. There are few advantages of Kotlin over Java. Kotlin's type system includes built-in null safety feature, which reduces the risk of null pointer exceptions, which is a common source of bugs in Java. Coroutines. Kotlin Kotlin introduces coroutines, which is a powerful way to handle asynchronous programming. This makes the programmers to write code that is both concise and efficient. Kotlin smartcasts eliminate the need for explicit typecasting, in many cases leading to cleaner and safer code. So I will be showing you um, a video from Zomato. So, are you guys able to see?
Yes.
So Zomato was started as an app which lets you browse digital menus. Now we are this big food tech company that is operational in 24 countries. More than 150 million users visit the platform every month. We are available in 10 languages, and on the delivery side we have a fleet of around 60,000 delivery riders. If you want to discover great places to go out, if you want to order in, if you want to reserve tables, and if you just want to browse food, you can use Zomato. So Zomato serves a lot of use cases, and that makes it challenging for the development team to fit in a coherent way inside the app.
After all the buzz in the developer community about Kotlin, I was intrigued by how Kotlin was able to uphold the object-oriented paradigm and solve many of the architectural flaws in the compile time itself. I almost instantly recognized that Kotlin will enable me to develop more architecturally sound applications. Kotlin provides us with null safety at compile time itself, and this is one of the most used features by our team. If you convert a Java class to Kotlin, there will be about 15 to 20% decrease in the line of code. But if you take data classes, there is a drastic improvement of about 55% decrease in the lines of code. Switching to Kotlin is efficient and really exciting. At Zomato, now almost every new feature is being developed in Kotlin. We as Android developers have not experienced the functional paradigm like the developers of JavaScript. So Kotlin providing a function-oriented style of coding was a very good feature. Often a use case comes when we are using code of third-party libraries where we want the class to have another function. Kotlin makes this hassle-free by the support of extensions. Almost all the new SDKs and APIs that Google is releasing right now has Kotlin support. On top of that, the third-party library developers are also adding support of Kotlin, which is increasing our Kotlin experience.
Zomato is rated 4.3 on the Google Play Store, and we've been lucky with the support of the ecosystem that Android provides.
I would recommend switching to Kotlin because of its interoperability with Java. With recent updates, Android Studio has drastically improved Kotlin support. It is almost frictionless.
So our learning journey will consist of having units, and those units will have its own pathways, and you will be having quizzes at the end of each pathway. And after you complete all of this, you will be rewarded with badges, and these badges will be reflected on your developer's profile. Um, these are the app in Android Studio, and then you'll be getting some displayable. You'll be getting course what do you say, user input, scrollable list, and navigating between screens, and getting to know about all sort of things. So before I conclude my uh, my part, I will be talking about two important tools that we will be requiring for what do you say, developing in Android Studio, which is Gradle and Lockcat. Gradle is an open source build automation tool designed for multi-project builds. It is widely used for software development ecosystem, including Android development. Uh, Gradle uses writing build scripts. The key point of Gradle is build automation. It automates the process of building, testing, and deploying projects. It handles tasks such as compiling source code, managing dependency, and creating executable artifacts. It also provides flexibility in project configuration, allowing developers to define custom tasks and dependencies. Uh, Gradle supports a rich ecosystem of plugins that extends its flexibility. For Android development, the Android Gradle plugin is commonly used to integrate Gradle with the Android Studio IDE. And Logcat is a system log utility in Android that displays messages emitted by various applications. And systems services.
अपन क्या कर रहा था अच्छा रख दे रहा हूँ guys just mute yourself if you are talking something else in order to maintain the decorum of the meet. Thank you.
So I will continue again. Logcat is a system log utility in Android that displays messages emitted by various application and system services running on an Android device. It is a crucial tool for debugging and monitoring the behavior of Android applications. A few key points of Logcat are Logcat displays messages with different logging levels, which are verbose, debug, info, warn, and error. Developers use these levels to categorize and prioritize log messages based on their importance. Debugging tools. Logcat is essential for debugging Android application. Developers can use it to trace the flow of their code, monitor variable values, and identify issues during runtime. Logcat allows developers to filter messages based on various criteria such as applications, package name, log level, or custom tags. This helps in focusing on a specific aspect of the application. Logcat provides real-time updates, allowing developers to observe the runtime behavior of their applications as they execute on device or emulator. Um, so I will be showing you the installation process of Android Studio. Just bear with me. So this is the main page of Android Studio where you will be able to install. The current version is Android Studio Hedgehog. So by clicking this, you will be downloading the executable file, and after installing that, um, you will be greeted by this um, installation setup manager, and I have already installed this, so I will be uninstalling the previous version, and I'll be installing it freshly. So this is the standard welcome page that you will be greeted with. So this is the core component, and we'll be installing everything that's selected. You can customize your installation location, and these are all the this is the startup menu, which we don't care. So now we'll be starting our Android Studio. So this is the setup wizard, and we'll be having a standard installation. These are all the components that we'll be requiring for developing Android applications, and these are all. There's actually uh, okay, be sharing the video of the installation process now. I think it's not working. So we are starting from where we left. We'll have to accept after reading all of the terms and conditions. We'll have to scroll down all the way and click accept, or else it won't allow you to accept its conditions. Now, this is yeah, okay. So this is the welcome page for Android Studio, where we'll be able to create our new projects, or get plugins uh, from this plugin tabs, and we'll look. Oh, shit. My bad. Stop that. Okay, so we'll be creating a new activity when we press new project, and all of these activities are based on they are based on what we require for the application, such as these are navigation activities, drawer view, and empty activity if we are creating it on or. This is a basic view activity. There are various activities catering to our needs. Now I will be ending my part, and Umair will continue from now on. Thank you.
Programming concepts of Kotlin programming. Let me show you. Yeah. So we'll be discussing about the basic programming concepts in Kotlin, like the Kotlin variables, data types, operators, strings, etc. So yeah, let's start with variables. As we all know that variables are like containers that we store certain use for storing certain values, data values, and using it for further in the program in the code. So yeah, in Kotlin there are basically two types of variables, that is immutable variables and mutable variables. So the immutable variables, these are uh, read-only variables. That means these cannot be changed. The value of these variables cannot be changed in the program, and these are declared. An example program for the immutable variable like this is, I am declaring a variable my name with the keyword val variable, and I'm assigning it a string in double quotes like Gaurav. So these are like I said, these are immutable variables. That means we cannot change. And further, if I'm changing this variable, I'm changing my name, the value of this variable my name, so it will give me an error. So let's check this through our code. Yeah, so here I'm giving val age as my variable name, and I'm assigning it a value 20. Then I'll print this statement, so I'm getting 20. Yeah. Then again, if I change the value of this variable to 10, then if I'm running this, so it will give me a compilation error. See, cannot be reassigned. So yeah, this is the meaning of immutable variables. So similarly, mutable variables, these are declared using var, and the and this in these variable we can change the value of the variable in a code. Yeah, so the variable we are declaring, it can be used just in the same block of code, and it can be changed in the same block. So yeah, let's see. Now but then it prints me the next new variable of this, the new assigned variable, reassigned variable. It prints me 10. Yeah, okay, so these are variables. Now let's discuss about data types. So like every programming language, Kotlin also has different data types. So yeah, it's important to declare the type we are using in a program, so that the computer knows like what value you are declaring in the variable, what you are specifying, like integer, float, or some character. So yeah, and here's the description, like what kind of data the different data types can contain, and these are the examples. So we have integer data types, float data types, character, and boolean. So integer data types, these are used to contain the integer number, used to store integer numbers, and floating used for decimal numbers, and character is for text, and the boolean, these represent one bit information, that is whether true or false. So let's see the program for this. Yeah, so here I'm declaring an integer number, variable number, as an integer, and assigning it at value 10. So it will give me the value, then I'm printing the number, so I'll get the value. Yeah, so it prints the number 10, and for float I'm declaring it as a float. So the syntax is, the f should be capital F after giving the value. After the value we have to assign it as f, so so that it's a define that it's a floating number. So yeah, it gives me 20 point decimal number. Then character, I'm printing a character A as alphabet, then A. So yeah, and this is boolean. Okay, now let's discuss about the operators. Operators, these are special symbols that perform specific operation on the operands. Like in if we have to add, subtract, and we all know, like, yeah. So there are different types of operators: arithmetic, relational, assignment, unary, and logical. So arithmetic operators, these are used for basic mathematical operations, to perform basic mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, etc. And relational operators, these are used to relate, show the relation and or compare between two variables, less than, greater than. And assignment operators, these are used to assign a value to another variable, like adding, then assigning the variable, then subtracting, then assigning the variable. And unary is used for incrementing or decrementing the value of a variable. And logical operators, these are used to check the condition between the operands. So let's look at the example program. I'm taking a variable, mutable variable a as 20, b as 5. Then I'm adding the two variables. 20 plus 5 gives 25. Then subtraction, multiplication, and division. So here's the result. And now for this relational, this gives relation between the two operands. That is, a is, if a is greater than b, then we'll print this statement: a is greater than b. If a is greater than 20, then we'll print this statement: a is greater than b, 20 is greater than 5. So a is greater than 5. And similarly for unary operators, we print, we let's increment a variable, increment b. So I'll be incrementing b. So yeah, see, this the value of b is incremented by 1. Yeah, so, and for now let's see about strings. Yeah, so strings, like in every programming language, these concepts are same also in Kotlin. So the strings are an array of characters, but in the difference between Kotlin and Java is that these have some newly added functionalities. We can perform extra functions on these strings, and the strings are immutable. Like we can change the value of the string once declared in a code. And the syntax is variable name, then we give colon, and string, we are defining the type string, then we'll give the string in double quotes. So here the rule is that we cannot give a single quote and define a string. We have, it's compulsory to give double quotes. Yeah, and array is also similar. So array is used to store multiple items of the same data type in a single variable, like integer, string. Under the same variable we can store multiple elements, and these are used to organize data so that the values can be easily sorted and searched in a according to our program. So yeah, the syntax is also similar, like array variable, array name, then we give colon, and array, then the type of like what elements we are specifying in an array, like integer, float, etc., and equals to array of. So this is the syntax of the array. Like we have to define using the function array of function, and we'll specify the elements in this thing. And Now let's look at the program for string and array. Yes, see, welcome to Android. Here I declared a variable string str with the string name is str, and string is equals to with us string. Similarly for array, we also here we are declaring an array and we are as value variable array space array, and we are giving elements as integer type, so I am declaring here as integer. An array of the elements are integers 1 2 3 4 5, and let's print the first element of the array as 0. As we all know, the index starts from 0 1 2 3 4 and so on. So yeah, I'll print the first element. Sorry. Okay, so it's the first element is 1. So this is the basic program for the array, declaring an array. And let's move on to the next. It's if else statements. If else statements, we are pretty much familiar to these statements, and we already studied in C, Java, Python, etc. So this is a similar concept. These are control flow statements that control the flow of execution, and yeah, they control the execution. Like if based on a condition we have, if we have to work on a program, so like if we'll define if a condition and give a condition, and if the condition is true, then it goes to the that specific block, else it will go to the other block and to the remaining. So yeah, we'll give a condition. If the condition is true, it goes to if code block, then it prints the code after if statements. It continues the program. So and similarly, if the condition is false, then it will not execute the code in the if condition block. Then it will go to the else block, then to the remaining program. Okay, let's see a basic program for if else condition. So here we declare a variable a as 5. If a is greater than 0, it's a positive integer, else it's a negative integer. So here 5 is greater than 0, so it goes to the if block and prints this yeah. So if I give a value as negative, then it won't. And coming to the loops concept, this is also these same, it's similar in every programming language. Like we have different loops like while loop, do while loop, for loop. Yeah. So while loop, it executes, it's used for iterating. It executes based on a condition. If the condition satisfies, then it executes the code, else it won't execute the code. It will ignore the code and run the remaining codes. So yeah, and do while loop is similar to the while loop, but in this the main difference is that do while loop, it executes the first code, like the before checking the condition. Like first it prints a statement, then it goes to the condition, then if the condition is true, then it will execute again, it iterates again. Yeah, and for loop it iterates through a range of items, range through range, array or string or collections. used for iterating through a range. Yeah, and then we have user defined functions. Okay, so user defined functions, these are functions that are basically created by us user, and it takes parameters, performs certain actions, and returns some the result of those actions. So yeah, and it's create we can create a function using the keyword fun, fun, it's fun function. Yeah, and we have to call a function to run inside body of the function, like, yeah. So we are declaring a fun function, fun, addition, subtraction, etc. Yeah, so here we'll give the inputs, then the body of the function. So yeah, if we want to call a function in another function, then we can do it by like declaring another function in this the body of the function. Like the, if I'm declaring, I'm creating a main function, then I'll call the another function that I declared before, that's addition, for adding a certain number, sum, like that. Then I can call it through by just using the function name. That's basically a program. Okay, so yeah, see here I'm declaring a main function, main, then I'll call this function sum, variables, like from yeah, I'm adding two numbers, num1 and num2. Hello, yeah, Sananda, you can continue.
Yes, thanks, Samir. Uh, Now I will be telling. Let me share my screen. Is my screen is visible?
Yeah,
Yeah. Now we will go through the OOPS concept. OOPS concepts are nothing but the organizing the data that we have created using the basic concepts like if conditions or something, if conditions or something around the object. Basically, OOPS concepts consisting of six parts: class, object, and inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, and encapsulation. These are basically six types of the OOPS concepts. And let me take you through the basic parts of it and the syntax of the each concepts. Now, classes are the blueprints of the objects, and the objects are the entities, are nothing but the real-time entity objects. And the basic structure of the class and objects is as follows. We'll start with the keyword as class, and we will give a class name and the properties. And the properties are here nothing but the constructors, nothing but that you want to give an properties to your object. For example, you want to manufacture a car, and you want to add some properties to it, like its maximum seats, a brand name, and the model name, etc. You can give it here in the form of an variables or an immutable form or immutable form.
and then we will start with the code. We will type our own code, and then we will go to the main function. And the main function, we will start with creating our own objects, such as valuable object, by giving its object name and creating the objects. Let me We will start with the class name, for example car, and the properties like brand. Make sure to remember that the data type should be in the form of in capital, because the Kotlin is a case sensitive language. It will try to show up an error while you are trying to run the code. Val model fun. We will try to create a function with the start, and we will try to print a message like here. Star symbol represent the reference of the variables that we are created in the class, like brand, model is starting, and we will try to create the main function, and we will try to create an object for the class val my car equals to, and we will call the class here class, and we will try to give the input to the class, such as Toyota, and its model as caramel, and we will try to print the start function my call dot start, and we will sorry and we will get a message as Toyota Cars is starting. And the next part will be data classes. Data classes are nothing but like while starting the concept, we have watched in YouTube saying that the data classes are used to reduce the properties or the inputs. In the same way, data classes are nothing but they're used to store the primarily data. And the basic syntax is as follows. We will start with the keyword data class, and we will give a class name, and we will write our code, and the main code will be executed. Data class name, and the model, and the function. We will try to print ln and here it will use the data types of this class brand Toyota and the model. And the next part will be inheritance are nothing but the acquiring properties of one class to another classes. These are basically three types. It can be Inheritance can be occurred in three types. We can acquire one class properties to another class, or we can acquire properties of one class to two different classes. or we can acquire properties of two different classes into one different classes. We will start the basic syntax is as follows. We will start with the open keyword. It means that it can be inherited by any class, and we will give the class, and we will give the class name, and we will write the code, and then we will create another class that will inheritance the above class, and we will give the class name, and we colon. Basically, it is the syntax of the inheritance class, and we will give the class name of the above class which we have created, and then we will write the code, and then we will create a main function, and we will call the second class, and we will try to print our messages, and I will show open class. And we will try to create a main function here. And we will create an object for it. And we will add one more property like color, and we will try to give the input like Toyota, camera, and the color. And we will call the functions my car, it will print a pop-up. And the next concept will be abstraction. Abstractions are basically a class. These are used to hide the hide the qualities, essential qualities, and implement the details. The basic syntax is as follows. We will start with the keyword as abstract, and we will give the class name and the class name, and we will create a class, and we will try to inherit the above class. Basically, it will be implemented through inheritance concept, and we will create an function of it, and we will call the functions from the above classes. And the next topic will be interfaces. Let us assume that if you are created an object and you want to add more properties to it, so we can do it in the form, we can do it using interfaces. We'll add an extra properties. You can give it as in the form of an variables or functions, or you can create your own function here. And the basic syntax is as follows: interface my as interface name, we will create an function, or we will create an variable, and we will create the class, and we will will inherit the above interface. Even interface is also implemented using the concept of inheritance function and the main. And the next concept is polymorphism. Polymorphism is nothing but the one function can be executed in a different formats. Let us assume that if you want to send a message to your friend, or you want to wish your friend on his birthday, the messages can be sent in the form of a text, video, or images. Here the function is same, but it is doing in different formats. So here is the example for it. Here basically it is doing an here we are creating a main class, and we are creating a calling a function of double and double. Here basically we are doing an multiplication. Here first we are giving a int format, and we are giving in the form of a float, and we are giving in the form of an doubles. Please make sure to give the imports in the form as it is given in the function. As you have here, as you have given double, you need to give it is a form of an double, otherwise it will show as an error. And the next concept will be encapsulation. Encapsulation is nothing but the binding of two different parts of codes into single one. Here visible the next concept will be visibility modifiers. These are used to restrict the visibility of the classes, function properties, and the other decorations also. Basically these are of four types: public, private, internal, and protected. Public, these are by defaultly available. These are by default. You can create as fun main. Here it is also an public one. You can run it, and it will show a symbol. And the next will be the internal. Here you can type this as internal. It will give a format. And the next one will be internal, should be given in the same modules. Here modules are nothing but the files that are compiled together in a Kotlin compiler. And the next one will be protected. These are given in the within the class and its subclasses. And the next one will be the private. These are will be most restricted one, only visible to some authorities or private. And the next concept will be errors and exceptional handlings. Errors are nothing but if you do an error while writing a code, it will pop up a message Like for example, where it will pop up an error like this, and we need to change it. Basically, errors are of three types: syntax error, logical error, and runtime errors. Syntax are nothing but if you don't follow the language of the respective language, it will give an syntax error. And the logic errors are nothing but if you don't follow an logic, or if you have missed a logic in your while writing your own code, it will show an logic error. And the next one will be the runtime errors. This mainly occurs while you are running your code. Basically, for example, let me say that runtime errors, uh, uh, like if you have created an array of 5 elements, if you want to acquire the element of the seventh index, it will show you a pop-up. It will show you a pop-up of array index array out of bound. It will show you as follows. That's all from my part, and the next part will be carried out will by Mustafa. Mustafa.
Greetings, one and all present here. Hope I am audible well. Hello.
Sanola can.
Okay, thanks. So guys, once again, greetings to one and all. Myself, Syed Mustafa Ahmed, and I'll be taking it from here on. Let me share my screen real quick. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Let me move to the PPT. So guys, so far we have looked into what? Android Study Jam and the pathways, what we can expect from this course. And then we looked at Android Studio itself. Then we saw Kotlin. And then we saw object-oriented principle, the OOPS concept that make Kotlin our preferred language for Android development. Now we look at following. These are the following core concepts that we'll be discussing next, and I will be trying my best to explain what each of this is. But before we actually, start looking into each and every one of it, let us understand why do we have to know this. So to sum it up, these are the core concepts that it's very essential for you to know in order to make Android apps. But overall, it could be summed into 3 points. Correct utilization. Android is a very vast domain, and it offers several things for the programmers who make Android apps. And you need to know these features so that you utilize them well, and you make efficient and convenient Android apps. And then scalability and maintainability. If you know these concepts well, you'll be able to not only make Android apps, but also work on existing apps and maybe scale them or maintain them. And then enhance user experience. This has more to do with the user interface of the Android apps rather than the actual coding. So if you know the concepts well, you'll be able to create UIs which are better, appealing, and then functional. Moving on to the next slide. First topic here is activities. So what are activities? Activities are fundamental concepts of an Android application, or you can also say they are the building block of your Android application. Activities represent all screens that a user can see on the screen and interact with. Any task that needs executioning is done with the help of activity only. So to put it simply, if you have an app that has a login screen, or if you open Zomato, there is a logo of Zomato that stays on your screen for some second, and then you go to the login page, right? That few seconds of screen that comes up when you first open the app is called splash. So in order to implement the splash in your Android app, you need to have a separate activity called splash activity. In that you write the code which implements that splash screen. And then once you go to the login screen, in order to implement the login functionality such as checking if the username and password is correct, and then allowing the user to log in and access the main page there itself, there also you have some certain implementation which you do in login activity. So each and every activity dedicated for each and every screen that the app will have. And if I want to give you an example, which it will not be correct, but activity is sort of like a backend. Now, backend and frontend is a concept from web development, but just for the sake of example, we can say it in Android development too, because everything that's not visible to you but is happening in the background is written as a form of code in activities. So on the next page, we see that activities have a life cycle. Okay, similar to threads, if you're familiar with them in other programming languages. Activities can have mainly 4 life cycles stages. It can be created, started, resumed, or destroyed. The moment you start your Android app and the activities or the screen or what should be coming onto your screen is loaded in the memory, it's created and started stage. And then when you finally see the screen in your Android app, it's at the resumed stage. And once the purpose of it has been done, for example, a login page, if you successfully log in, the login page will no longer be visible and you will be redirected to the main page. What happens to the login page? Well, it enters the 4th and the last cycle stage, that's destroyed. That is no more visible and no more in the memory. Moving on, next slide, we have example of activities. So as I said, a splash screen, a brief introduction of the company's logo, it's in a splash activity. Login page, if there's a login page on your screen, then it will have a dedicated activity called a login activity. If you want to go to the dashboard, you will have a separate activity called dashboard activity. Your app can use n number of activities, and each activity would be in a form of either .kt or .java, indicating in what language you are coding the Android app. And then next we have layouts. Now if activities are the backend of your Android application, which deal with the implementation part, layout is the front end of your Android application, which deal with the cosmetic and designing part. So activities may decide how your app will function, okay? But what decides how your app's individual screen will look like? Well, layouts do that. Layouts are the cosmetic cover for your app. It is a layout is a UI design for Android app. It defines how the app screen are organized and elements and what elements are displayed and where they are displayed. And layouts, they are existing in an XML file format. On the next screen, we have an example of a typical layout file. As you can see, for a main activity, we have a activity underscore main.xml. This XML file is a layout file and it's connected to the main activity. In Android Studio, we have the option to see the code and write it in a code format. Because Android Studio is a wonderful IDE, you can have the options to code complete. So it's really efficient. These are the layout file, and you can also preview your layout live if you click the design tab. Okay, so next we have the types of layout. Android offers you a lot of layouts. Just like how your house can have more than one architecture designs, your Android also can have more than one layout designs. Now it's up to you and the programmer basically of what layout he has to use. We have a stack layout where all the items in your screen are stacked on top of each other, and then we have something called an absolute layout where all the items present on the screen have an absolute distance from all the 4 corners and from each other. And then we have relative layout where the items placed on your screen are placed in such a way that they have some relation to each other. For example, the login button will always have a relation set that it is placed underneath the password column, right? To make a simple login page. Then we have a grid layout which shows the rows and column, which shows the data in rows and column format. We also have scroll view, which we will discuss later in the presentation. We have content view and frame view, which are pretty much just displaying as it is what's on your screen. And then we also have linear layout, which could be vertical or horizontal, and they just display the elements linearly or in a sequence. So the next we have views. So what are views? Views are your core user interface elements in Android. Anything that you see on your screen, apart from the layout, of course, it's a view. View are your UI elements, and the definition of view would be they allow feedback from user or simply user interacts with them. All interactions and non-interactive elements that user sees on the screen are all views. So example of views are checkboxes, text fields, buttons, image buttons, or all the simple images. This is a diagram that shows the different views. As you can see, text view is used to simply display normal text on the app. Edit text view is used to take text from user. This is the case. This is what we will use if you want the username and password for a login activity. And then checkbox, radio button, we can display images using image view. And then we also have image button view, which if you want to use an image as a button so that the user clicks on it and something happens, we use image button view. And then we have the classic button view, which is buttons. User can click on them. You can add functionality to that view. So moving on to the next slide, we have something called recycle viewer. It's also a UI element. As you can see, it has view in it. But this is a specific implementation of something called scroll view. Scroll view, remember, we looked at it in layouts. Recycle view is designed to efficiently display large data sets by recycling views Let's see the next page, a simple diagrammatic representation of recycle view. As you can see, there are items X till items 7, okay? But right now on the screen, only item 2 to item 6 are visible. At some point in time, the only item X and item 1 were also on the screen, but user scrolled away from them. When the user scrolls away from them, the item X and item 1, they enter some area called a scrapped view, where they are no more using memory from your device, and they will be hibernated or simply cache it into something called a view binder. It's sort of like a buffer. It stores your view temporarily and does not allow it to use memory, so that your device doesn't have any performance issue. Uh, Next, we look at the scroll view. Scroll view is also a UI element, and it is also used to navigate up and down through the content that doesn't fit on the screen. Recycle viewer, once again, is a special implementation of scroll view. Now let's look how scroll view appears on screen. So we can see we can either implement a horizontal or a vertical scroll view, which represents the direction we can scroll in, or it can also be a grid. Now the main thing is scroll view and recycle view both, they should help you see the items that does not fit on your screen. Say you have 100 contacts, and hardly on your mobile screen you can see 10 to 12 of them. To see more of the contacts, you will of course have to scroll. But the difference here is that recycle viewer is best if your data is dynamic, it's changing with respect to time, and it's large amount of data. Because in order to show any data in your Android, it has some overhead. It uses memory, and if your device is not newer, it may cause the device to lag or the app to lag. So if you have data that is live, such as the stock prices or the values of different bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, which is big data, it's also changing. So you have to keep on updating and checking for any new data. So in that case, you use a recycle viewer to display them, and you can scroll through the data normally. And if you don't have any dynamic data, such as students' attendance on so and so date, he was either absent, he was either present, and it won't be changing anytime soon, right? So for displaying such type of data where you don't need to check for any live changes, we use a scroll view. Now coming back to adapter and the next slide, that is view holder, are both aspects of a recycle view. So adapter is a bridge between the recycle view and the data or the data store or the database from where you're bringing the data to show in your recycle viewer. It creates and binds the views that represent each item in the list. That's about adapter. Adapter simply adapts your data such that it can be displayed comfortably in your Android's recycle viewer. Because databases can have different formats. Remember, it can be an NoSQL, it can be SQL, or it can be in a form of dictionary. But in the Android, you should see the data as a list. So this adapter, it adapts to the changes between the databases and your Android formats. It controls how the data is presented within the recycle viewer. Adapter is very necessary for implementation of recycle viewer. And then we have something called view holder. View holder is a class that holds the reference to the views in the list layout. So view holder is basically that buffer I was talking about, which holds the views that are no longer on the screen. You have scrolled away from them, and then those views are pointed out by a class called view holder. In the next slide, we see a diagram on how view holder and adapter help your recycle viewer to function. On the left, we have the database of the data source. The data is read by the adapter and view holder, which adapt and change the data in such a way that it can be comfortably displayed by your recycle viewer. That's all about view holder and adapter. Now, next slide, we have something called a fragment. A fragment is a more modular piece of an activity, or it's also called a sub-activity. A fragment also has its own layout and behavior, and also matches the life cycle of an activity, which we discussed, the 4 stages of life cycle, right? A fragment can implement functionality that does not need a layout. To understand it, an example, the example would be adding or removing extra info with respect to screen size of your Android device. Let's see an example in this diagram. So consider your Telegram application. For both the tablet and the Android, there is the same application, but when you open and install them, the user interface is different. On the Android, let's say when you open the Telegram on Android, you see the contacts first, and then when you click on a particular contact, the chat screen of that contact opens, and you no longer see all the contacts, right? But in the tablet version of Telegram, which is the same application, once again reminding you, when you open Telegram, you see all the contacts on the left side, and there is an empty space on the right side. And the moment you click on some particular contact to chat to them, a screen opens up on the right empty side showing the chat. But on the tablet, you can see the contact as well as the chat screen both in the display. While Android, it does not happen. See, the thing here is the chat that is opening on the right hand side in the tablet is a fragment. When the fragment detects that the screen is smaller and it's a mobile handset, it doesn't open the chat screen in the same display as the tablet. So this is fragments, and conditionally you can make them execute. They are sub activities. So very useful if you want to create responsive applications. Next, we have navigation, essential component in Android applications, because navigation helps you to move from one activity or screen to another. It can be implemented using something called intents or buttons, or something that Android offers you called a navigation component. Navigation is a must when you want to make a proper application, because you should be able to go back and forth between your activities and your screens. The next slide shows a demonstration of a navigation diagram for an app called Trivia. It's basically an app that gives you a quote and asks you who set this particular quote, and then shows a score at the result at the end of how many you correctly answered. Here you can see the arrows, they pinpoint the navigation. If you press back or if you click on the next, on what screens you can go. Moreover, intent is what you use to go from one activity to another. So if I have a splash activity, I want to go from splash to my login, or from my login, if successful login, I want to go to the dashboard, right? So I'll use something called an intent, and here is a code snippet which implements the intent. We use the intent method, and we simply start the intent. We specify what activity we want to start, and we start it. More on this later on. And then these are more different ways you can actually implement navigation. You can have a tab-like layout as you see in browsers to allow users to choose in between what screens they want to navigate, or you can have tab plus gestures like we see in WhatsApp. If you want to navigate between your community, chat, and status tab, you can simply swipe or choose the tab. Or there is a drop-down option. You can have all your navigate screen options in the drop-down, and user can manually select on what screen they want to go. Or you can implement a dedicated bottom navigation bar. This is it from me, guys. And if you want to see all of these concepts in action, over to Gauri. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mustafa. So now, since we have learned all the basics of that are required in order to build an app, let's just go on with the practical exploration of building a simple app BMI calculator, so that just like we hear when things come to reality, right? So I'll start sharing my screen, and then we'll start building app. We'll also share you the code later by the end of the day, so that you can also try doing it. I hope my screen is visible to all. So yeah, so here is the play area where just a second, guys. Guys, are you able to see how I'm navigating over here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay then. So here, in order to start a new project, I'm going to the empty views activity and then next. And here, at the name of my application, I'm going to give BMI calculator. Since I have already built one, I'm just giving here the name of the two in order to differentiate. And here you can select the language Kotlin, and you can leave the rest of the areas segments by default, and then click on finish, and then it gives you
Gauri,
the
sorry.
graded. Yeah.
Gauri, are you sharing your window?
No, I guess there's a bit stuck over here. Let me just do it again, okay?
Yeah. Just share your whole screen instead of just selecting one window.
Yeah. So yeah, it's visible now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, in order to start here, we'll be clicking on file, new project, and here empty views activity. Here we'll be going on, and then next here I'm gonna give my application name, which is BMI calculator. Since I have already built one, here I'm giving the name 1, 2. Here the language should be Kotlin, and you can leave the rest of the items by default and then click on finish. And here, like as mentioned in the first part of the session, the Gradle, here it shows all the things. But to be precise, why Gradle is important and all, Gradle files in Android like build.gradle, which you all can see over here, like here the build.gradle and all. These are the configuration files that are used to define project settings and dependencies. They specify how the project should be built and what all the current external libraries and modules it depends on. The Gradle version in Android refers to the version of the Gradle build system, like what all other library versions that you use. It's crucial for managing dependencies, especially when you are building a large scale app that involves machine learning models or databases, where you need to mention the versions of each and every component that you are using. So in order to keep the performance optimized during the development and deployment, so keeping the Gradle version up to date ensures that your app is compatible with the latest features and the improvements that are coming in the real world. One thing to notice is that app development is a process that indeed takes a lot of time. So one needs to be patient enough in order to wait and understand it. So here is the activity. This is the XML file which we are having. So here is the basic XML file. Since I have already worked on it, I have already made the code. So just a second while I copy the code. So yeah, here is my activity main.xml code. I'm just copy pasting here in order to do it in time. So yeah, here each thing, in order to look at this, we'll use the split window also, where it shows each and every component. Here the linear layout indicates a straight layout, and the values match parent indicates that the screen, the size of the screen should be by default set to the app that deals with each and every, like it is different for different mobiles, and hence it matches for each and every mobile. Here the edit text, here we are giving the enter weight in kg, which is being displayed over here. And then there's another thing, enter height in meters, which is being displayed over here. And then there's a button which indicates calculate BMI, like how I have indicated calculate BMI. And the text view, here the text view indicates that, so once we click on calculate, we also need to get an answer that what BMI is the person having for the weight and the height given. So this is the text view in order to get the result. And the image view, here I'm giving image view in order to get an image later which is suitable for each kind of BMI. And here the main activity. The main activity is the area where that is seen for the when you open for the app for the first time. And then here also I'm taking the code. Here the package indicates the it is a by default you get when you open it. So it indicates your whole Android as an entity. So for the main activity code, so yeah, here is the code, and here I have imported all the necessary libraries that are required in order to build and run my app. And here is where I'm starting my main activity. So so here this line, this particularly defines a class name main activity which extends to the app compact activity. This means that main activity is an activity in Android and it inherits the behaviors from the app compact activity, which is a base class for all the other activities that are going on in the Android. And then here we are creating a function, the create function, which is used to collect the key value pairs. Here the value pairs that are giving are being height and weight of the person. And then going to the next, there are few other lines which we have written in order to ensure the working of each and every component that we are giving over here, and the variable declaration, and then there's the calculate button, and then all other few details. And now here, in order to do our math, here I'm adding a new file, which is again a Kotlin file. BMI calculator.kt, which is the extension for Kotlin file. Yeah, here I'm trying to write the math which is required for the calculation part of BMI. And here in the result, I have told that we are giving an image in order to display. So here in the resources directory, we are gonna create an resource directory, which is for the raw, which indicates that we can give the images over here in order to show them over app. So in order to get the resources, I have already downloaded few of my resources. A few GIFs I have taken. I'm just gonna copy them and paste them over the required area. So here I have the GIFs which I have taken, and here my main activity file, it has all the other things that are required, and hence I'm starting to run my app. Here the Gradle build, it is running, which indicates that the things are going on. And here you can see the logcat, which indicates that what are the things that are going on once the app starts running. Since here it is taking time, I'll show you already where I have already run my app more than once. Now here I'm using a virtual device in order to connect your mobile phone. Here you can go to the device manager and then connect. If you want to create a physical device, you can pair it using Wi-Fi, or else you can use your USB cable also to connect it. Using of a physical device would help you in running the proper, even if you have a low RAM. Here the app has started. The install is successful, and now you can see in the logcat that what are the process that are being going on. This for developers helps in understanding that what are the things going on. So here I'm giving out the values. So let me give the values like 85 kg and then 175 meters, and then calculate BMI. It is underweight. It is showing a GIF here. Now in order to get a GIF, we need to make some changes in our code. Like here for the underweight, we need to ensure that we import this particular library glide and also ensure as GIF and load the file. Here it is very much important to maintain the names so that we don't have a confusion, and also give the correct path where you have given. So here, yeah, here in my app, in the resources I have already given out at the same name, so hence I'm giving out the same name. So now if I give the BMI index of a normal weight, I might not get the same. Why? It is because here I have set out this as image view, but rather not with light. Hence, if I try doing with the normal one, oh my god, I guess there's something. Let me just rerun this. Now, here also it is being represented as obese because it is given over here like this. So yeah, that is how the things happen in this. I hope you have got an idea of what the things are happening and how to build an Android Studio. So yeah, here's that the thing I have done just now. And if you get any error, so there's no need to panic, get panic for the errors. Most of the errors would be around the Gradle versions. So just look out for errors, and out there are many developers who are already working on this, so that you can take guidance from them, or there are many websites where you can find blogs about how to solve each and every errors from videos out there in YouTube and everywhere. So that when you encounter error, instead of panic it, start sitting and solving it, understand the error. Most of the errors would be solved by default by changing the SDK versions and all. So it's important to understand what are the basic components of it. And since app developing by default is a time taking process, so one needs to be patient enough in order to wait and for the app to compile, develop, and also for the deployment purposes. If you have any doubts, you can. Okay, so here I'll be sharing the course link that you can start working on, and hence by following the course, you can learn how to build an app, a fully fledged complete app. We'll also be sharing you the WhatsApp link in order to join. So here is the WhatsApp link for everyone to join. This WhatsApp group is completely specific to the Android study jams. So even while doing course or in general, if you encounter any doubts, you can just share over them here. For your friends who have already left the meeting, just forward the link to them. I hope that's all. You all have enjoyed the meeting, and will be sharing all the PPTs and the code that we have worked on today by end of the day. Definitely, no need to worry upon that. And yeah, if the PR team can share the attendance link, you all guys can leave then.
One second. Hey everyone, I just hope you found today's session insightful. And I noticed in the meeting chat that many of you were curious about the hardware requirements. Well, maybe now's the time to ask your parents that gaming laptop you've been dreaming of. So before we conclude, I'd like to share some exciting news. Openings for GDSC lead positions for the year 2024 are now open. Since we are running late, I won't take much of your time. Let me just share you the link to join a group. Okay, I've shared the link with you guys. I hope to see many of you showing interest in becoming the next GDSC lead. In this group, me and my team will be guiding you through to all the process of the becoming GDSC lead. So I hope you join. Are there any questions on the Android side? Okay, if there are no more questions, I guess you guys can leave.